Sweet. All right, man. Welcome to the Mr. Bill podcast. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
that we're getting to do this. Thank you to Ulisal for setting it up.
Yeah.
To get started, maybe you could explain who you are and what you do to anyone listening who doesn't know about you already.
Okay. Sure. I'm Eduardo Gravina, also known as Automate. I'm still struggling to pronounce my name correctly.
Is it
Because
Automate or is it Automhate?
in my head it's Automate, which is like kind of sounds like ultimate. Sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, ultimate. Yeah, I know you." I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm not ultimate. I don't know what ultimate is." But as an Italian pronouncing an English word, it's automate. But it's in theory, it's automate. And yeah, I'm a producer. I live in Italy, proudly Italian, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm 25. I look younger. I look way younger. I look like probably, I don't know, 19 or something, which is kind of weird. But yeah.
Yeah, you make rhythm, and you've toured with Subtronics, and you've put a lot of music out on a lot of labels, and
Yeah.
you're seeing some success in the dubstep scene, it seems like.
Yeah. I want to say I make music, not rhythm, because I know, like, I have a weird, I have a different, perspective on my music compared to, like, of course, listeners or, the standard crowd, because I kind of give it for granted, but it's not, granted, but I make a lot of music, like different types of music, but I just realized I never really show that. So, like, to me, I'm like this multi-genre producer that makes a lot of stuff. But to people, it's just like probably, rhythm, dubstep, which is, it's okay. Like.
Well, if you think of it, so if I told you, like, what kind of music does Deadmau5 make, what would you say?
Deadmau5 make? Yeah, I would say like, how can you call it? House? Like,
yeah, house, electro. But the reality is, if you go through his like whole like his discography, probably like 50% of it is like glitch or IDM or ambient or breaks or like some other shit, right? But because he got popular doing house music, and because all of his tracks with like hundreds of millions of plays are house tunes, he's a house artist. And so that's why I say I consider you a rhythm artist, because it's like if you go to your Spotify, all of the stuff up the top is rhythm, and like, you're doing shows with Subtronics and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like you don't really get to choose what kind of an artist you are. No. If you put out a bunch of music, it's whatever gets big, you're then known as like that guy. Like for instance, Bill Gates, he's into philanthropy, he's into, all this other shit, but he's like always going to be that computer guy who made Microsoft.
Yeah. Also, like, once you, like, as an artist, you can't really decide what the crowd is going to think about you, and also think about what you put out. Like, you basically, as an artist, kind of serve the public, because once your let's say tune or drawing or picture is out, like, then it's the public's thing. Like, the crowd. It's as if like you're gifting stuff to people. And I mean, I can say like I make other stuff, but as you said, like, if people perceive me as a rhythm artist, I can't really do anything about it, because, it's me. I decided to do this. I decided to put myself, in the world like this. And if people think that about me, I can't really do, anything about it. So yeah, totally agree.
I think the only thing that you can really do about it is just like completely stop making rhythm, only make like other styles, and then put those out, and then maybe you would rebrand as like an artist who does kind of different shit. I feel like G Jones did that. Like originally he was kind of like making a lot of trap, and in my opinion, I saw him as like just a trap artist, but at this point I see him as some completely unique thing, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Do you think that your music reflects your personal identity or the identity of your listeners more? And do you see music as a form of self-expression, a connection to others, or both?
Okay, so sorry. First question. First part of the question was.
Do you think that your music reflects your personal identity?
I think it reflects what I like what I want to hear. So if that is my personal, I mean, like, dubstep music, rhythm music is like kind of angry music.
Mm-hmm.
You could consider that like
maybe not angry, but it's like high energy. There's a lot of energy in it.
Yeah, but like I don't know, it's kind of associated to like the angry, like
metal almost.
Yeah, kind of. I wouldn't say like I'm an angry person, but I think like it reflects, what I said, like pretty much what I like. So yeah, I could say like kind of reflects my identity, maybe my personality. But yeah, so I wouldn't say like 100% reflect what the person is. Like it's not that you listen to my music and you know who I am, basically. So I mean, at least I feel like that. I still like I still separate the artist from the person. But of course, like I think like listening to somebody's music, you can kind of understand their taste, which is also what like I like about other, I like about producers. It's like when I really like their taste in music, which also reflect, of course, in their DJ sets usually, because if I like an artist and I like their taste in music, means also that probably their DJ set is also going to be very good for me. So, that also like helps me. Like, let's say if I want to go to a dubstep show, I'm really like picky because there are not a lot of artists that I really enjoy a lot. And the ones that I really trust are usually like, I always have fun listening to their DJ sets.
Mm. And do you find usually that if there's an artist whose music you like and DJ sets you like, that you also usually like them as a person?
I don't want to like, no, that's not like, I wouldn't say that is like 100% thing, like if I like somebody's music, it doesn't make them a good person.
Well, I mean, what is a good person is also totally subjective, right? So I mean, like, do you like them as a person?
Yeah, I phrased that totally wrong. I wanted to say that not necessarily I'm going to get along with that person, probably.
Yeah.
Maybe, I mean, regarding music, yeah, sure. Maybe we have like, similar taste in music, but then, different taste in other stuff.
Then they're a Trump voter or something.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about that, but maybe. And the second part of the question was, I forgot.
Do you see music as a form of self-expression?
Form of self-expression. Yeah, I'd say it's more like, for me, I don't want to say like, something like this is, what I think about it might be different from what you think about, from your experience. So I'll say just my experience. It's when I make music, there are a bunch of like different, say like moods to make music. The first is like the more, I'm studying kind of, so it's like an exercise. So I'm just like going to the gym. I'm making music like as if I'm going to the gym. And then there are other days where I'm more creative, or I just want to, I feel like I need to put something in the world, like, or just like take it from a mind and make it concrete. And so yeah, in those cases I would say it's like self-expression or need to inner need to do something, you know. I don't know about you, like how you think about it, but
I watched some YouTube video the other day where someone said that one thing they like to do when they feel stressed out is journal. They like to just write all of their thoughts onto a piece of paper, and they likened it to vomiting out of your brain. So kind of like if you're really sick, like you've drank too much alcohol or something, and you're like, oh, I feel like shit, and then you vomit, and then all of a sudden you feel better because you've gotten this toxic shit out of you or whatever. And then you feel all of a sudden, you know, healthier and less sick. I feel like the same is true of thoughts and emotions. And I feel like music is a good way to get some of those out, like you said, onto paper. And yeah, I feel like sometimes I also get in modes where I just feel the need to do that. And then once I get it out, I'm like, okay, I feel all right now. It's like I vomited my shit out into into
yeah,
Ableton.
yeah, exactly. And sometimes I really feel like, if let's say I don't have the opportunity to produce for like a few days, or if I really feel the need and I can't produce, I feel like, I don't know, weird, kind of ill. I don't know if you say that, but
Yeah, no, I
like,
got the same thing. If I don't produce for a few days, I start to feel weird for sure.
yeah. I also like, we could also talk about the when like the feeling of guilt, like feeling guilty when not making music.
Well,
Which is
I
like,
think that comes from capitalism. I think
yeah,
that that's a byproduct of
which is
just,
like it's different though. Like sometimes I feel guilty, sometimes I feel like I really need to and I can't because I don't have my computer with me or something like that. So but
yeah, I definitely feel like the guilt that I feel from not writing music comes from capitalism. I feel like I need to do it because I need to support myself and I need to be working. People are supporting me for being a musician, so I feel guilty that I'm not working when people are supporting me for this thing and that kind of thing. But I think that that's a byproduct of just the frameworks of society more so than any objective thing.
socials too. It's like a FOMO. Like you're on socials and you're like, what am I doing here? I should be making music. Well, you can totally relax.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah, you should be able to, but yeah, I guess workaholism is a real thing. Like workaholic, whatever you call that, yeah.
It is. It is.
What aesthetic values do you prioritize in your music, and do you believe that there are objective standards of beauty and quality in music, or is it all subjective?
Great question. I think it's a mix of both. Like, of course, you know, we listen to, like, before listening to other stuff or like before making music, I guess like everybody listened to something, you know?
Yeah, your parents' voice probably.
Everything, you know, like there's music all around us. You go to the bar or to the restaurant and you hear music. So you're kind of like, I feel like you're kind of always subjected to music. So that is already like kind of not making you completely free, you know, like of making something truly unique. So you're kind of, I think like you're always kind of influenced a little bit. But then of course there are, and like, of course, what you hear is considered, I would consider the standard beauty. Because of course we live in a society. I know it's fun to say, but we live in a society. And then of course there's like the inner beauty that also makes a good artist, you know, like what you think, like your vision, what you think is beauty, it's probably what you collect in your past and you transform that into something that is like unique and beautiful to your eyes. And then once you can transmit your passion to the listener, to the viewer, to whoever, that becomes the new standard, I think. So it's like kind of tricking people into liking what you like.
Yeah, I think that we like things that are non-challenging. Like, and usually something is not challenging because we've heard it before and we have an expectation, and then that thing meets our expectations, and then we feel comfortable and we feel like it's normal. I feel like if you hear some music that like you have some sort of expectation of, which may come from prior music that you've listened to, or it may come from the piece of music itself setting itself up for an expectation, and then that expectation is not met, then all of a sudden you start to go like, what the fuck is this? Like, what's going on? I've never heard this. This is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I think the trick with a lot of electronic music is setting an expectation up and then meeting it, but meeting it in a way that's like slightly new and interesting and maybe a little bit challenging, but for most of the part, meeting it.
Yeah. Which is also like the secret behind a lot of melodies and, you know, like chord progressions and so and so and so. And but yeah, I totally remember the first time I was listening to dubstep. It was completely new to me, but I know it's like cliche, but I was like the first artist I think I listened to was probably Skrillex, because I had this name in mind, and I was just listening to like rock music, rap, classical, and you know, pop in general. And the first time I listened to Skrillex, I'm like, okay, cool melodies, cool stuff. And then the drop comes, and I'm like, whoa, I've never heard like anything similar. And I'm gonna be honest, like the first day I just closed YouTube and forgot about it. But like after a few days, I was kind of curious again. I was like, maybe that sounds good. Let me go back to it, because the as you said, like the melodies, you can consider those as the standard part that everybody likes. So I was kind of enjoying them, but then the element of, you know, novelty, so like the basses, the drop, like that, was kind of like surprising me in a good way, and it made me very curious about, you know, what's behind all of this, and want to, you know, expand on that.
Yeah, I agree. Skrillex is definitely pretty clever at setting up an expectation and then meeting it in a slightly obscure way to where people can still connect with it and think like, oh yeah, that makes me feel comfortable and that's normal, but it's done in an ever so slightly off-kilter way that it makes it like, yeah, it gives you a sense of curiosity about it as well.
Exactly.
I'm curious, whoa, what the hell? Virtual Riot is FaceTiming me right now. I'll get back to that later. How important is silence in your compositions? Do you see it as a backdrop that enhances the impact of sound, or do you see it as an integral part of the music itself?
I think it's like silence. Like, I mean, I would say like chiller moments, like moments of that are not very full, or you mean like silence, like absence
Hold on one
of
sec. I'm
sound.
just going to message Virtual Riot and tell him that I'll call him back. Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, so the question is, how important is silence in your composition? So the absence of sound, silence.
So complete absence of sound, not
Yeah,
like
like
chiller
when
parts.
no, like complete absence, like zero sound. Do you think that it's the backdrop that enhances the impact of a sound or sound in general, or do you see it as an integral part of the music itself?
I mean, for sure, it enhances, you know, sounds, I would say, because like, of course, even for like a more technical reason, because of like makes the track breathe. If there's like also like the transient breathe, because if you like, let's say if you stack two basses one after the other, and you make them go very fast, like making like a small silence, like just before every other bass, can make the transit more impactful. So this would be for like a more technical reason, I would say. But yeah, like even in pre-drops, like sometimes there are pre-drops in music where there's like some silence and then just a vocal and then the drop. And so in that part is also like part of the song, like it's silence, but it's still music. It's weird. It's like
So
it's a
you're
weird
saying
concept.
you think it is an integral part of music, but also I think it is integral to the impact of sound in general, because I think contrast makes it such. I think without
Yeah,
silence, if we just had sort of like a 70 decibel background noise constantly, then making something 72 dB or something is not going to be as impactful as if our background noise is what it normally is, which is what, maybe like 50 dB or something.
yeah,
And then making sound, yeah. I agree.
absolutely.
I think it's an integral part of music for sure. I think you need gaps. I was
Yeah.
actually listening to a podcast last night. It was podcast by this guy who, I think the podcast is called Hidden Brain, and the episode name was Innovation 2.0, and the whole episode was about how sometimes subtracting things can result in more innovative outcomes. And I was sort of thinking about that in the sense of music. It's like quite often my natural inclination when making a track, if it doesn't sound right, is to add more things. But I think quite often the opposite can be true. Removing things can also
Yeah,
get you there.
absolutely. Like sometimes just adding is not, what you're looking for, and sometimes like taking stuff away, I think it's like can be the turning point, when you're stuck on something. Maybe it's because you have too much going on. Like maybe, think about the good elements and get rid of the elements that you don't need. That I mean, that happens to me a lot of times, especially like when I stacks a lot of like drums, one on the other, and I'm like, doesn't sound right, and then I mute something, and out of the blue, drums are fixed. So yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same is true of just removing parts of sounds too, like EQing stuff. Quite often, like I'll be writing music and thinking, yeah, this sounds just kind of noisy and fucked up and sounds weird. And then I'll like remove all of the highs from something, and then
Oh
it'll
yeah,
all of a sudden it will let the hi-hats breathe, and then I'll remove all the lows from something else, and then all of a sudden the sub can breathe, and like you
yeah,
sort of create space for everything, and then it's like you've actually removed a lot of stuff, but it somehow makes the track sound
yeah,
bigger and more full and gives it more definition.
yeah, absolutely.
What do you think is the source of creativity in music, and how do you tap into it when you're
Ooh,
producing music?
I think it's the source of creativity. Uh, Honestly, magic. Like if I knew,
Magic.
if I knew I would be always inspired, it would be like the best thing ever. I would be so happy if I could, like know how to get always inspired. But I think there's of course there's some stuff that can help, of course. Like, uh, so let's start saying that I don't think you can be always inspired, and it's totally normal not to feel inspired. Like a lot of people feel the pressure to be inspired. Like we were talking about it before, of like the guilt of not making music. Uh, I think it's totally fine not to be inspired, and chasing inspiration is kind of like sometimes it's not what it's not gonna work, because like you chase this inspiration. Oh, I need to make music. How can I get inspired? And then I don't know. It's kind of maybe hurt sometimes. Like you can feel exhausted doing that. Um, so I would say like in music, um, listen to a lot of music. You know, So like listen to a lot of different stuff too. Not only, like if you make dubstep, don't listen to just dubstep. Like maybe listen to something else, and try to incorporate elements from what you like, which is different, into like, maybe dubstep or rhythm. But yeah, also like that can be applied to other stuff, like watching a good movie, reading a book. I don't know, like if you maybe reading a book can like spark some ideas and creativity, or yeah, just like stay in contact with arts in general, and to be fulfilled with ideas, and keep your brain active, basically. So yeah, I'd say like pretty much that. It's like this is not like, I'm not telling that this works for everybody, but at least it works for me. Like to be to like listen to a lot of stuff, watch a lot of stuff, read, get good inputs from the outside.
So it sounds like most of your creativity comes from other art, and then compiling ideas from other things, that like whether it be a book or a movie, and then that inspires you to do something. Does that mean in a world where there was no other art, like let's say we went back to day one of the Earth and that no art had been made yet, there was no movies, no film, like no books, no music, does that mean you would be completely shit out of luck for having any inspiration to make music?
I don't know. Honestly, I'll never know, I guess. But no, sometimes I mean, when when inspiration comes by itself, so it's not me trying to get inspired. It's usually, like as we were saying before, wanting to express ourselves in some way. But for me, that also means that sometimes I also like don't make music to express myself. I like to like sometimes to draw stuff, or like do just a doodle on a piece of paper, just to express some emotions. I was also doing some 3D stuff sometimes, but I never end up like saving the things I make. I just like delete them. And but yeah, so I would say like just life in general, like what you live every day can just spark some inspiration. It's not just art, it's also like emotions. Like I think like being sad because something happened and you feel this interior thing somehow, or being angry. Yeah, I think
makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I believe that we can't know what it's like to gain inspiration in a vacuum, because nobody can ever do that, especially today where there's so much art out there. But I guess it does beg the question, like, where did art begin, and how did the first people who ever made art find inspiration to do so? And then I guess everything kind of snowballed from that point. Like other people saw other art, got inspired from that, made renditions of it, and so on and so forth. And we're now at this point where everybody's making renditions of everything, and it's kind of just spiraled out of control into this really rich field of creative work. But yeah, I kind of sometimes think like, I don't believe creativity lives in a vacuum. I feel like you're right. Like every idea that we ever have is spawned, like, because really to ask like what is creativity in music is to ask what is a thought and how does a thought occur, because all of music comes from you having first a thought or even a feeling first, like a subconscious thought, and then maybe like a thought in your consciousness that you can actually observe, and then you try to convert that into music or whatever. And I don't think that we know where thoughts come from. I think they're just sort of random. They're just like a random occurrence in consciousness that just show up. If you've ever meditated, you'll know this for sure. It's like you try and sit there and have no thoughts, and it's impossible. It feels like your brain has been hijacked by somebody who's just
That's why I
implanting
said
ideas
it's
in your
magic
head.
at the beginning, like
Pretty much.
magic, like I don't know, like it's scientist stuff maybe. Like when we will find out more about the brain, maybe we will know where inspo comes from. But
Well, we do know that thoughts occur like 10 seconds before you're aware of them. So they're happening at say, I think the test they did was like they told people to push one of two buttons,
I
and
saw
then they
that
put
video,
an fMRI machine on their brain, and they were like, push like A or B. And they would like lament over this for 10 minutes, be like, oh, I'm going to push A, no, I'm going to push B, I'm going to actually no, because then if I go back to A, so I'll do B. And like they would think about it for ages, and then eventually when they did push the button, the fMRI machine like knew which one they were going to push, something like a full 10 seconds or so before they actually did it. So yeah, you're right, it's pretty much magic.
Yeah, pretty much. Also, like I'm curious, what do you think it's the first form of art that has ever
Banging rocks together, cave paintings, dancing, probably.
would you say
corroborees.
music or visual art?
Depends if you consider dancing music. I feel like dancing was probably the first, because you can just do it with your body. You don't need anything else like tools or anything. So I'm probably sure that dancing was the first, just because like to do music you need some sort of, maybe singing actually could have been like something with just the human body would have been the first, I think. So either dancing or singing.
We could also like consider maybe a rhythm made like, as you said, like with a rock and like some wood or something maybe.
But I think before that probably people made rhythms with their bodies just by clapping and stuff.
True. Right? True. With making
which I would maybe like consider some form of dance almost. Yeah, I think that was probably the first though.
Maybe that also comes from like religious stuff, because I was also thinking maybe like art is like comes from like necessities too, like not to express yourself, like to more I don't know, like let's say the paintings on the walls, maybe at the beginning were just to narrate stuff, like it was a way to narrate to the future generations how to do something,
like a way to write history, because people knew that they needed to pass information on to future generations to be able to evolve and progress.
Or maybe like the first songs were religious songs or like rhythms to evocate like a god or something, like like for the rain, you had the instrument to how do you call it, like
the rainmaker,
to summon rain or something.
Yeah, well, but the thing is like humans have been around for like 300,000 years or something. I think religion's only been around for about 10,000, maybe 4,000. I mean, there probably was religions before that, but like any of them mainstream religions today, I think have only been around for about 4,000 or 5,000 years.
No, yeah, I'm not talking about like like mainstream religions, but like even like if you want to call rain, like believing in the god of rains, like a religion. I think like even back in the first humans were afraid of natural phenomena, maybe.
Yeah, true. And it's hard to say like when, how, or I don't really know a lot about this, but it's hard to say when religions started to really become a thing, because religion is really just a thing that's been happening, I think, at the end of civilization. Like there was a huge chunk of like hundreds of thousands of years prior where I don't actually think there was religion. There might have been some sort of other type of belief system though, where you could summon rain or summon growth of plants or something like that. Hard to say for certain.
Or like those little statue like that were fat because they were supposed to like were fat resembled fat women.
You got some hearts going there. Wait,
that's crazy.
Really? Can you just create hearts that way?
I don't know. That's weird.
Sick.
But there were like these rounded female statues that they were burying underground, like under the soil, to make this soil more prosperous. So like stuff like that. I don't know, that kind of goes back, I think. I don't know how many years, but yeah, that's interesting though. I'm kind of curious to know what was the first form of art ever,
Maybe
created.
we can go and do some research, and we'll do another podcast covering
the
first forms of art.
I'm down.
What elements do you think make a piece of music timeless, and how do you strive to achieve this in your own work?
Damn, these are good questions. What makes a piece of music timeless? Damn. I think it's like, I think also like we can really never say like, when something is like I don't think like there's a recipe for it, like let's say a good movie comes out and you're like, oh, this is gonna be like everybody is gonna know this movie in ages. It's gonna be like one of those legendary movies that everybody knows. But I don't think like you can really predict that, like I don't want to say bullshit, but like even like, do you know Titanic, the movie, right?
Yeah,
it's considered like now one of the classics movie that everybody knows. But I think when it came out, people were not really enjoying it, or at least like the critics were not really enjoying the movie or something. Maybe I'm saying bullshit, I don't know. If it's not Titanic, it's another movie I'm thinking about. But this is to say that it's not really, there's not a recipe to decide this, like an endless piece of art that can be like a movie or music. It's like decided by the the crowd, not by the artist. So like if in 20 years a piece of music that I made will be remembered by people, that means something. But I can't really tell if that is going to happen, or what I can say, it's like when you're truly unique and also like you have a very good taste. That also, like, saying a very good taste doesn't really make sense, but let's stick to being unique. When you're very unique, I guess, and your ideas shine through, I think that's kind of like that can make it happen, I'd say. When you really have a vision and it shows in your project, not when you're just doing stuff like randomly, maybe. So that could be like I don't know, like a recipe for eternal I don't know, eternal something.
Well, I think like from the last thing that we were talking about kind of proves that no music is timeless, right? Because if it were, then I'm sure there would be stuff from 300,000 years ago that we were still listening to today being like, wow, this still hits,
That's interesting. That's interesting.
I think like when people say, oh, this is so timeless, they're generally talking about shit that was made like 50 years ago, which is like in the grand scheme of the times humans have been alive is fuck all. I mean, there's some stuff maybe that we're listening to from like a couple of hundred years ago, right? Like some Bach tunes or something, or like Mozart or whatever.
Yeah, that's kind of a tricky question, because like you said, of course, like we don't remember music that has been made like 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, but it also wasn't recorded. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Because like if you think about folk music, for example, how old is folk music? Like the roots of folk music, Yeah,
like, true.
In Italy, if you come here and you do like ta 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 ta, like everybody knows it. Like I don't know the title of what you're singing, but it's like in our roots, like it's something that, and I think it's
Maybe
like
people
that
just started doing that, like literally at the start of humanity. It's just continued.
I don't know. Like it's probably very very old, and probably there's stuff that is older, like that is rooted into folk music that can also like be a rhythm, probably. You know, just like a cool rhythm that is like, I don't like, think about African music. There are so many rhythms that are specific to that music that maybe are super old. I don't know when they were invented, honestly.
Africa has the most rhythms.
True.
The OG rhythmers. What are your thoughts on the ethics of sampling in electronic music, and where do you draw the line between paying someone like an homage and plagiarism?
Okay. I think sampling is such a cool technique. Like, I think it's, part of music, like how many tunes like listen to Daft Punk, all of their tunes were sampling music, but also like rap tunes, because this sampling technique was so used. And I feel like in electronic music nowadays it's not that used. Like, and when it's used, like, I don't know, sometimes it's not always it's used in a correct way. I think sometimes it's more like plagiarism, as you said, I guess. But when it's used correctly, it's like, it's amazing, because it can mix, elements that are already good by themselves, but maybe not good enough. So like you take them and you transform them into something that it's even better, which I think is super cool, But yeah, I think it's for sure like a technique that it's there to be used, like I don't see anything wrong in it. Of course, like if you take like in bass music, if you take a bass of mine from my song and then you just like copy and paste it into your drop, that is lame and that is whack. I don't like that.
Even if it creates a new piece of music that's entirely new and fresh.
That's tricky. That's very tricky.
Well, I mean, that's what you just said, right? Like if you turn it into something new and fresh, then.
So it depends. If I can still like, if I can still recognize my bass to the point that it's like very understandable that you just took it and just.
But that's exactly what Daft Punk did, right? They like, if you listen to the ABs between the stuff they took and this, it's like you can absolutely tell it's something that they just took and sampled.
That's true, but there we're like, when we fall into the sound design perspective, I think stuff changes a little bit.
Okay, so musical ideas are not as valuable as sound design ideas?
No, I wouldn't say they are not as valuable. I would say like they are. It's like we are not giving enough value to sound design, like because you just suppose like a sound is just sound, but there's like a thought behind. So it's taking the sound itself, like just take a sound from my song and put it into one of your song. It's like copying the entire song, kind of, because maybe that song is like kind of centered on the sound design. I think maybe I'm saying bullshit. I don't know.
Well, what if they took the sound design, but then changed the melody of the bass, but with the same sound, and it created a new thing where the value of the new song is now on the melody more so than the sound, but they just use the sound. They just so happen to use that sound.
I don't know. Can I take a Moroda stab bass from one of his most popular songs and use it in mine? No, I feel it's no. Even if I make something very cool with it, I'm still making a song, but it's still not like I wouldn't feel legitimate to do that.
But it's weird to me that you think that that's not okay, but the Daft Punk thing is okay. Because to me, it's like it's basically the same thing, and there's the same. And I think that sampling should be a thing that you can do. Like for instance, I think it's super dumb that I could just mash my hand on a piano and then record it, copyright it, and say that piano mash that I just did, that's mine. I own that. That thought to mash the piano in that way came into my head, and now I legally own that. I think that's fucking dumb. That's
No, yeah, I
possible.
think that's dumb too.
And
I think
I think
that's dumb too.
everything in music should be basically open source. I think everything should be accessible by everyone because that's how new things get created and whatnot. But yeah, I guess I don't understand why the Daft Punk case, which is, in my opinion, way more blatant than taking a Marauder stab bass and using it in your song, is
sure.
an okay version of sampling, but in dubstep it's not. Maybe it speaks to maybe how important the sound design is in dubstep and how much the sound really makes the song.
If I can say, I think it's like more like if I do that, I'm trying to steal something. It's like more I'm trying to steal something and capitalize on that. And in the Daft Punk case, it's like taking something that it's already like something different and rearranging it and making a new idea that is totally different from the original.
But they're not totally different. If you listen to them, they're like the same song. It's like the same song, but they like put some OTT on it and like added a bass line or something.
But also like how they cut the parts and make a new melody, I mean, a new chord progression, basically, pretty much. That is still like adding value, I guess.
So you can take a Marauder stab as long as you add a chord progression under it?
No.
Okay, so what's the difference?
It's still about the sound design there. I don't know. There's something wicked about it that I feel it's not good to do.
Okay.
Because I feel like you're not being creative at the point. You're being just...
But it's the same level of creativity, I feel like, that Daft Punk used, right? Like just sampling a thing, putting a chord progression under it. And it's not creative if you do it with a Marauder bass, but it is if you do it with like an 80s funk band or something. There is still,
I think, I know it's very weird to say, but there's still a difference. Even I think it's a very subtle difference, but I still feel like that is like stealing something that is truly unique to an artist, and instead of like, taking a chord progression, which is, of course, like, it's a very good chord progression, but saying like that you own a chord progression is weird, I think. Like you can't really own a chord progression.
So you can't own a chord progression, but you think... So maybe the difference is taking a chord progression is like taking an intellectual idea that should be kind of open source, because there is only, say, 12 options in which you can make notes from, because there's only 12 notes in our Western chromatic scale, versus a sound in which there's maybe millions and millions of different combinations.
Exactly. So that's what I want to say. Like, if I take a Marauder stab and I use it in my song, it's because I don't know how to recreate that. So I'm gonna steal that. How? Okay. Not like having the serum patch, or I wish, like, I'm just gonna steal it from your song, which is like literally stealing. So I'm like stealing your way of making a sound, like, which is, only his way of making a sound. Instead of like, of course, Daft Punk, like the music that they were sampling, it's music that in theory they could recreate, But when you cannot recreate it, I think maybe then it's stealing. Maybe.
So, okay, let's say in theory, I did know how to make the Marauder stab, but I just couldn't be bothered, so I just stole it from his song. Is it okay then?
That is very in theory, but I guess so. I don't know. Like, if you can recreate it like 100% accurate, yes.
Okay, yeah,
I'd say
enough.
So. Yeah.
What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you believe is the ultimate purpose of music?
The ultimate purpose of music. Honestly, I'd say entertainment. at the end of the day, it's entertainment, entertainment, no? Right? Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, it's a mixture, I think, of entertainment and some sort of weird need that I just feel to
yeah,
do.
like I feel like entertainment is still like, a lot of stuff goes into the big circle that is entertainment. Like entertainment can be like, oh, I'm sad, I want to listen to some music because I feel the need to, because it entertains me. Like it's the only thing in that moment that can help me because it's entertaining me, I think. So like it includes a lot of stuff. It's not just, of course, like having fun at a rave. I think it's more than that. But still falls into the entertainment category, I think. You're still like, as I was saying, like when you feel the need to listen to music, you are being entertained by music when you listen to it, right?
Yeah, I would
Does it
say
make
so.
sense?
I think so, yeah. What does authenticity mean to you in the context of electronic music, and how do you ensure that your work remains authentic?
I would say like when you have a vision and there are values to your vision, and like you at least try to follow that, and I feel like that makes it authentic. And I feel like a lot of people can also say when your music is not being authentic or you are not being authentic. Like,
you think it's obvious when that's happening?
I wouldn't say like obvious 100%, but like it can be obvious, because there's like you can be inspired by somebody, as we were saying, we were talking about it. You can be inspired by somebody, but you can also copy somebody, like blatantly copy somebody. And when you are inspired, it makes it authentic. I think it's still authentic, even if it kind of comes from somebody else. It's authentic because you're inspired. It means that you get that inspiration, and you make it yours. Like you make something else, you make it yours, and you make a new product from that. And then there's like just copying, straight up like copying, not even doubting for a second what you're doing. Like you're just like, you're a machine, just like done. That is, I feel that is not authentic. When you don't even question yourself, you're like, oh yeah, it's good because like Excision makes this. Let's just put a sustain bass on Serum and slap some drums on it, and why people wouldn't like this. It's the same.
Yeah.
That
but it
is
doesn't
not,
it doesn't like ooze that authenticity that you think the
Exactly.
original Excision track might, because he made
Exactly.
it based on being inspired by something versus you just sort of recreating it. I feel like a lot of people do this because there's such a high reward for doing so, or they see that there's such a high reward for doing so. Like, for instance, if you go to an Excision show, you're like, wow, there's like 100,000 people here and look at all this production. This is insane. Does that mean if I just do this thing that I will also be rewarded with the same outcome of being able to sell out arenas and have this huge amount of production? And I think people have this idea in their head that if they just do the same thing or make the same music, that the same resulting outcome will occur, and I don't think that's necessarily the case.
Dude, talking about this, like I've made sometimes I make demo tracks for a sample pack, and the amount of times I've been told, just don't overthink it, just like throw some presets on that and some drums and you're good to go, right? And no, it doesn't work like that. Even when I'm making like a demo track for something, I still need to, make it sound good somehow, or like give it some kind of personal touch.
Well, it's important that you feel good about it,
right? Otherwise, I cannot even press, Ctrl-Shift-R export. It's not like I can't do it physically. So yeah, I'd say there's big difference between like being, authentic or getting inspired.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, finally, where can people find you if they want to go check out your music or follow you on socials? What's the best place for people to connect with you on the internet?
Honestly, like on SoundCloud, I post all of my music and all of like my clips. So Automhate,
Which is AUTOMHATE,
right?
Yep, like automate, but autumn hate with a H.
Exactly.
Yeah, gotcha.
On SoundCloud, and the same for Instagram, where I post like some snippets sometimes on the stories, and more like what I play during the shows. So like some unreleased stuff, and but yeah, I would say like mostly SoundCloud. It's what when I want to know an artist, I just go on their SoundCloud, not their Instagram. So go check my SoundCloud.
Great. All right, man.
Pretty
Well,
much.
I appreciate you coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed this conversation.
It was very fun, very entertaining, very, I want to say difficult, like very good questions. Very good questions, especially for me that I don't natively speak English. So sometimes expressing like these thoughts, I was like kind of overwhelmed because your questions were like very spot on and very like, deep questions, I want to say. So
yeah, I like to ask philosophical stuff.
yeah,
I feel like it's more interesting than just the standard, like, whoa, what music are you working on lately? I feel
I'm kind of sad it's done, because I love talking about this shit. Like, yeah.
There's some kids at my door for some reason. All right, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate the conversation.
Yeah, same. Very, very glad to be here. And